Well, welcome everybody from the studios of Grand Forks Best Source. It's time now for your Probitas Promotions podcast. Now, you've heard us talk about Probitas Promotions a ton on the air here during our shows on Grand Forks Best Source. But we've got Matt, Phil, and Mark from Probitas Promotions in the studio today. They're going to tell us all about their company. And I tell you what, these guys are, they're a hoot. Happen to have a couple of cocktails over a meeting with these guys a couple of weeks ago, and one of the best meetings I think we've ever had. Anyway, let's get into this. And first off, guys, you can go ahead, introduce yourselves, and then we're going to talk about Probitas. Let's start with you, all right?
Sounds good. I'm Phil Irwin. I'm one of the swag specialists at Probitas. I started with the company about a year ago, and I'm excited to chat with you guys today.
Perfect. And you, sir?
Yep, I'm Mark Jensen, and I'm a swag specialist as well at Probitas. Just started same time Phil did, so just looking forward to this.
And on the right of me is
Matt Fischer. I am the co-founder and CEO, and I'm actually a swag pro. I've got some specialists here with me, but since I own the company, I named myself a pro.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it has anything to do with how good at anything I am, but
okay. Tell us a little bit about you.
Me, well,
yourself.
I'm from Grand Forks, North Dakota. Grew up here, and I went down to that other school in Fargo. Got a 6-year degree, and I got my master's in communication down at NDSU through a little javelin. And ended up coming back to Grand Forks. Married my high school sweetheart. We have 5 kids. If I were to label myself, I would say I'm a Christian. I'm a business owner, I'm a dad, and I love to coach. I'm actually a high school track and field coach here as well.
No kidding. You know, I was a half miler. I know that's probably hard to believe, but when I graduated, I was only 6 foot tall and about 170 pounds. Did run a 159 or a 159.9.
Wow,
by the way.
That's awesome in the 800.
Yeah, and considering I hated it, it wasn't so bad. I really enjoyed my time in track. I love track and field. Okay, now let's go across to Mark. Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm not a runner, that's for sure. I only run when it's last call or I'm being chased. So I grew up in Park River, North Dakota. I went to college here at the University of North Dakota. The University of North Dakota, that is. So I'd like to give Matt a bad time about that. Graduated with a degree in public relations a few years ago. We'll go back to that. When technology was not the in thing, practically. But I'm not that old.
Oh, okay. Okay. And I can't wait for the UND-NDSU football game. They're going to be playing each other this season, right?
Should be a good game.
Yes.
Yeah, should be a good one. And last but not least, to my left, Phil. How are you, man?
I'm good. I love this sort of thing. I was super excited to do the podcast today. But I'm Phil Irwin. I'm from Garrison, North Dakota. It's on the western part of the state. Came to Grand Forks, in 2002 to get a degree, and I fell in love with this town really fast. And then I accidentally fell in love with a girl from this town, and so I've been here since. But got a degree in business administration, entrepreneurship, and I've been in the area. I worked at the University of North Dakota for 9 years, and a year ago I started at Probitas. But I also have 5 kids like Matt. I cheated though; I had twins at the end. So.
Oh. You guys almost, you guys are
on that.
A couple of years, you'll have your own track team. Are they going to go to the same school?
It's possible.
Have to leg wrestle.
Yeah, have to leg wrestle.
Yeah, I'm busy at home, and during the summer, I'm riding my motorcycle. I'm getting out. I'm enjoying North Dakota. I like this place.
You're kind of a music guy too, aren't you?
Yeah. Played in rock and roll bands all through. Like I started in high school, played all through college. It was nuts. Like we were playing 2 or 3 shows each weekend. I was still working part-time and going to school at UND. It was, I don't know how I did it. It's nuts, but it prepared me for 5 kids.
It's called being young.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. How long has Probitas been around?
Been around for about 5.5 years. Started in September of 2015, and we've been putting logos on stuff all around the state of North Dakota for 5.5 years.
Mm-hmm. In fact, you talk about the Probitas logo, those the coasters you guys made for us. They happen to be all over town now in different drinking establishments. You'll see Grand Forks Best Source on one side, Probitas on the other side. Now, I had mentioned before the top of the show that we had a little meeting last week over across the hall over there at our favorite place, and I tell you what, that was one of those meetings I wish we could have just hung around for about 4 more hours because there was a lot of laughs. But the first thing I want to ask is, you guys are always saying the phrase, write that down. Where did that come from?
Yeah, I will take 100% credit for that. I'm actually the only one allowed to say write that down in the office.
It's because you're the swag pro.
Yeah,
And Phil writes it down, and I just rolled my eyes.
So back in college, like I said, I married my high school sweetheart. She actually went down North Dakota State as well, got her degree in architecture, and come on. So now that we watched like 4 movies. There were 4 movies that we watched. It was like Zoolander and Road Trip, and one was Van Wilder. We watched it all the time, had it all memorized. And one of my favorite lines from that movie was when Van Wilder would walk around with Raj next to him, and he'd say, write that down. And Raj would write that down. So that's just been something that's stuck with me forever, and I say it all the time, especially when I think I'm a genius, saying that like the smartest thing in the world. And so write that down. And usually it's to Abby or my kids, who are very young and don't have an idea, some of them even how to write. And I say it at the office all the time, like, write that down. And everybody looks at me like, shut up, Matt. I'm not writing that down. You're an idiot. And then Phil and Mark started. And Phil is very analytical, and he likes to do things right. And when the boss says, write that down, he's like, what now? Like, should I write that down? I think you actually had that thought. So
like you said,
maybe talk about that. Like, why did you even think that you should write that down?
So like you're the new guy, right? And I was in a new industry. So I came from admissions at UND to, it's my first sales job. True sales anyway. And so every single day was something brand new. Like I didn't know any of this stuff. So like you're constantly writing down, like, this is the website I use, this is the password I use. So he just kind of smart aleck, tells me this like word of wisdom, write that down. And I already had a notebook started, and I'm like, he's probably kidding, but why don't I do it just in case he's not? Because I don't know him that well. He's my new boss. I got to make sure I'm doing this. So I started writing it down. And after like 3 or 4 times, Matt like noticed that I was writing it down. He's like, "Are you actually doing it?" I said, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, keep doing that because I need a record of this stuff because it's gold."
Solid gold.
Is that what the book is that you carry with you?
Yeah. So like it started out like you can't have it because it's got like my passwords. For
Oh,
all the
I
stuff
believe it.
need.
Okay.
But I took the last
them down.
page. I took the last page and I've got it filled with the write this down quotes. And then I realized that I should have started at the beginning of the book because he just doesn't stop. So now I'm working my way backwards, through the book. But I've got 2 pages worth now, and it's become a real thing. And on occasion, he will ask for a report. And so I'll just relinquish the notebook and he can peruse to see if he wants to do any edits or if he's happy with the content.
Sales is not an easy gig for a lot of people. Was it a big transition for you going from working at a university to sales?
It wasn't as big as I thought. Like, I mean, if you think about trying to convince somebody to come to a university, I mean, you are selling them on, a dream essentially. Like, hey, if you come here, these are the things that we can provide. This is the education you're going to receive. And it's not a guarantee that you're going to be successful or know what you're doing, but it maximizes your chances. And so I had done a ton with you're meeting with students and families and clients essentially every single day. And so that personal side of it I had down, but the practical, like, what are the techniques? Like how do you actually do the work? That's stuff that, like I said, every single day it was something brand new, and you're scrambling for a while, but it's a fun job because I think you learn it best just by doing it. Wouldn't you guys agree? Like you start one day, start making phone calls, and you figure it out.
Matt's kind of giving you the stare down there, so I don't know.
Well, I felt like I was listening to the interview like the first time. Like, no, Phil, you got the job. Okay, you're in.
Yeah. Can I stay?
Is it like this every day with you guys?
Yeah, I'd say it's quite entertaining because when I first started, Phil and I started at the same time, and when we first started, we shared an office. And I've known Matt for like 10 years, and I've kind of always known his humor or sarcasm, and it was kind of entertaining
Thanks
for
for
me
calling
because
that humor.
I find that entertaining because Phil, he was like Matt said, the analytical. He'd write down, and I'm like sitting there, yep. So it was just like, okay, but yeah, just kind of watching. That's Matt. Like if, for example, this morning you walked by the office and write this down. I'm like, yep, that could be Phil's job.
I missed that. Was it good?
No, it was actually what we're going to talk about today.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't write it
have
down.
it written down. So
Another quote, and this is spot on, especially in sales. In sales, we don't wait for work. We go out and create it. Was that a quote that was stolen from somebody, or did you make that up, or how did that one work?
Well, and that's what we're going to talk about in the show today is that specific quote. And that's what I'd like to do on these shows, maybe just pick one and then talk about it amongst ourselves here with the brain trust.
Yep.
And that quote happened, I think, right when COVID was hitting. And in sales, you're as busy as you make yourself.
Sure.
And there's good salespeople and there's bad salespeople, and you listen. The people listening to this, you know who I'm talking about. You can spot that person. The killer to a salesperson is laziness. If it's not busy, there's a lot of things you can do to keep yourself busy. You can sit on Facebook. You could text. You could maybe go get your car washed a couple times, but that's not going to get sales for you.
No, it's not going to make you any money either.
No. And as a salesperson, you can always call another person. You can always put a presentation together. You can always go knock on somebody's door. And if you do that as a salesperson, you're going to be busy, even if there's nothing coming in. There's jobs out there where there's nothing coming in and there's nothing you can do about it. If you're in accounting, if you're in, even if you're a doctor and you got no clients coming in, you can't just go out and make work for yourself.
Go run somebody over with your car.
Yeah, that would actually probably be
You
bad.
probably could do that.
No, I won't say anything about lawyers because both my parents are lawyers. So
Uh-oh.
sorry, Mom and Papa. So yeah, that was kind of how it came out. I mean, everybody was down. Everybody's like, and it was just a call out saying, you know what, we're a sales organization. Let's go make some work. And that's what we went out and did.
I remember one specific time because Mark and I are sharing an office, and it was super helpful to kind of like learn the business together because you always had somebody to bounce ideas off of. And I remember one time, I don't know what happened, but Matt will like patrol the office, so he'll like walk around and he kind of stands at the door and will like lurk for a moment and glare at you or turn.
Not a glare. I mean, it lurks a bit.
He takes his blue light glasses and puts them on his nose, and he must have thought we didn't look busy, and he's like, "Mark, Phil, you guys are driving around today," and we're like, "To do what?" It's like drive around and find new clients. And I remember at the time you're like, "Oh, geez," he thinks we're not doing anything, but it was one of the most fun, I think, kind of helpful ways to, I guess, illustrate the quote, like go out and make work for yourself. So we get in the car. It's super fun. Like one of us is on point as like the spotter and the other person is like writing down all these businesses. We're like, what the heck is that place? Like I have never seen that before. So we're driving down to Murr, we're driving to the industrial park, and we get back to the office and we've got like 20 or 30 businesses and we don't know what they are. But we've got their name and we know approximately where they are on Google Maps. And so we start doing the research, getting the names, getting the phone numbers, and before you know it, you're spending all afternoon contacting people.
Sure. So there really is no not busy time if you're a salesperson, I wouldn't think. I mean, you should always be busy, right?
Yeah, and that's kind of the knock that salespeople get is they're always on the golf course, so they're always at a bar having a happy hour, and we do those things. That's part of the relationship that you want to have with your client. But reality is you wake up and you're working. You're on your cell phone. You're sitting there having dinner with your family, and then afterwards maybe hop on your phone and check and see if that client who is really in need of your services got a hold of you, because you want to make sure you're keeping them happy. Because if they're happy, you're happy, and stuff gets done.
So no matter what, and we'll get to the COVID thing, but I know how that affected everybody. But the salespeople actually have an opportunity to make their work. Is that kind of what you're saying here?
Yeah, and Mark, why don't you talk a little bit about that, being that, I've been doing this for 16 years now, and I've got the clients I've been working with, and, my job is to run the company and, pass a lot of the new stuff off to these guys. But, can you kind of talk about how that is when it's, you got crickets, you're sitting in there, your email is not getting filled up. What does that mean to make work for you?
I think just a lot of it. It's like when you do the research and drive around, because I think too, even with businesses, sometimes they don't even think of like the promotional end or the marketing end for themselves. So those are kind of the opportunities on those slower times to kind of reach out to those people and just help them. And like I said, finding ways to then promote, like even Phil said, driving around, you don't realize all those places. You kind of think if you don't realize that, do other people outside of looking for that type of work know they're out there?
Sure.
So you're just taking that time and, and I think that's probably one of the rewarding parts of the job is, especially with us being new, we took on like a lot of new clients, just visiting with them who probably never promoted their business like that, and have them coming in saying, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you know what, I need to do this.
Yeah.
This is a simple test, or a simple way to get our word
Well,
out
you can drive by the same buildings every single day on your way to and from work or wherever you're going and not even realize what that business is. And a lot of these business owners know that, but it's kind of refreshing for them too, because a lot of them are thinking, we're so small and minute that people don't even, they don't even think about us when it comes to this stuff. But then, that's kind of, I've heard of Probitas Promotions before, but until we actually met with you people, I didn't know what you guys were all about. So it's nice to know for these smaller businesses, especially, that people do realize they're out there.
Right.
All right. COVID, how bad was that for Probitas, or was it not that bad?
Well, it was bad. No, okay, it was bad.
Yeah.
We were off to a great start. We were up as a company in January and February, and then March, COVID hits, and we kind of had the residual of how good January and February were, and then literally in April and May, we hit a cliff. And it wasn't just us, and it wasn't just our industry. Everybody hit this cliff. We were all in it together, and we knew that. And we made a strategic decision as a company to keep our entire team together. So we didn't do any layoffs. We didn't do any of that stuff. And we knew in our heart that this was going to pass, especially in the state that we were in, the type of work ethic that we have as a state and as a people. We knew that we were going to get through this. And we knew as a leadership team that we wanted to have our entire team ready to roll as soon as we came back. And in that slow time, when we hit that cliff, we were down 80, 90%.
Wow.
And we took that time to create work. We took that time to find out where the money is, where the people were buying stuff. And there was something called PPE that in February, nobody even knew what those words were.
Yeah.
They thought that it was like an extra P in front of FIED, and we were talking about like a school class or something.
Yep.
But this protective equipment in our industry pivoted so well and so quickly, and we were able to produce masks, hand sanitizer, gloves, face shields, all these things that were in huge need, and nobody was able to get it in our industry, which sources a lot from overseas, and we have some good domestic partners. We're able to produce that. So we were able to take our sales organization and marry that with the people who needed that stuff. So that kind of got us through the June, July, and then as the economy started coming back, as things started to get better, then the traditional promotional stuff started to come back as well, and we were able to ride it out and do something. Phil, you look like you
I want to say something. Like, one thing I'll add from my perspective is that I remember you coming out and saying, guys, we're going to have to pivot. Like, we have to find out who's buying, and we're going to sell, the heck out of it to those people. And from our perspective as the new guys, like, what's a pivot? Like, we pivot every moment, like, because we're just learning this. And so I think it was a nice advantage for us. But what I noticed right away is that the people that didn't care about COVID, I guess, so to speak, were those like laborers. I had like the landscapers would show up and they're like, I don't care. I'm working outside. Like, I got to keep working. I got to feed my family. And I was selling to those guys. And then the lawn guys show up and they said, I don't care.
Yeah.
We're just going to keep rolling. And so those types of industries, there was like a short pause because everybody wanted to hold on to their money and make sure that like they had some in the bank just in case. But once they realized that like, okay, maybe this is longer term, we got to get back at it. And so it was really kind of cool and almost like inspiring to see those business owners come in and they're like, I'm here. I want to do business. I want to promote. Will you help me? And we're like, heck yes. And then you start hitting the list and driving around and saying, okay, where are these other guys at?
Yeah.
Let's talk to them too. And
do you have any idea how many businesses in Grand Forks alone that you work with Probitas Promotions?
Hundreds.
Hundreds, yeah. Because, you have the same companies for a long time, and then you guys were almost like the new kids on the block there for a while. But now it seems like you're the big guys on the block. You think that's true?
I don't look at it that way. I mean, I look at it as a responsibility in our community to be the best that we can be in what we do. And if people choose to work with us, that's awesome. And we're always going to give it the best we can. And, one thing I will say with our company and where it's come is there was a company in town called Trojan Promotions. And I'd be remiss not to say how important they are to our company and how they've, how Trojan and Probitas really have become one company. There's, it was a tragedy that happened with Troy and Jess passing away. And when we were approached and the relationship that we then formed with Daydreams, and just how we all came together in this community to be able to keep that going. So yeah, I don't look at us as the big kid on the block or anything like that. I look at us as a true swag company that encapsulates everything that is good about our industry to help our clients, and as more of a responsibility than anything else.
Okay. Now, when you talk swag, what all are we talking about? Because I kind of have an idea. I mean, we've got a lot of Probitas promotion stuff here in the studio and around town now that we're handing out. But what all kind of swag does Probitas Promotions offer?
What do you think, Mark?
Do we have time for the 100,000 product?
No. It's like 900,000 to $1 million. So you've only got through 100,000.
That's right.
You've got 700,000.
So we can, let me see, I can sell you sunglasses, socks, clothing, combs, keychains, bumper stickers, pretty much anything out there. You know what? If a logo can fit on it, we can do it. And I actually kind of like when Matt was talking about like being there for the customer or clients and stuff. I think probably the neat thing or rewarding is when you can drive around town and see a business that has utilized us and seen that product out there, and knowing that, you know what, you are behind the scenes to helping them become more successful. Like I said, it's probably one of the more rewarding jobs. And even like coming into it for myself, I was always on the other end. I worked with Matt in a previous job where I did the selling of like the products that we purchased from him, and just seeing like the back side, and just like I said, seeing the rewards, and being like, hey, you know what, I helped do that.
Yeah.
And just I think too, seeing these businesses just climb, just because they're marketing. Because like I said, unfortunately, sometimes those are things that kind of get set in the back burner, especially like if the owner of the company is also the marketing person and everything else, So when you can go and help, I find that like super rewarding and kind of a neat feeling.
Yeah, back in the early days when I first started in radio, like you had mentioned earlier, salespeople, they were out on calls, but a lot of their meetings were at a bar or on a golf course or wherever having lunch, and it wasn't so structured. In fact, it would not be uncommon to not see a salesperson in the office for a day or two. Management was they knew they were out there doing their job, but now with the days now, it seems like things are a lot more structured. I want you in the office at 7:30. I want you back here at 4:30. I don't know how you guys do it at Probitas Promotions, but I would imagine if you guys get back together again in the afternoons, it's probably pretty fun. I mean, just sitting with you guys, it seems like you guys like to have fun.
Oh, Matt does not.
I crack the whip. I mean, pretty much if they try to smile,
nope. I used to have a lot of
slam
hair.
my door and they know it's serious.
Oh yeah.
I used to have a lot of hair until I started working. That's how I lost all my hair. It's like scared to death of Matt. Can't you tell I'm scared of him?
Yeah. Oh, I can tell you're scared to death.
As the analytical guy, I'll chime in and actually give the real answer. Like,
Thank you, Phil.
It's so fun. You get back into the office, but I feel like we're given like a lot of free reins. Like, here's what you do, here's the techniques. But there's so many times, like Mark and I, they really want us to be the guys that are leaving the office. Like, so we'll just wave and say, hey, I'm going to stop a few places, or I'm dropping this off. And it's really fun to just have people like, they barely look up from their desk. They're like, yep, see you in a bit. Like, they can see, I think pretty easily, like that you're making an effort, you're going this place, you're going to that place. And then you always come back with stories. It's like, hey, I had the awesomest conversation with this client. Like, they've got this really cool idea that I'm going to work on. And it's super fun. But I like having that free reign because it doesn't feel like Matt is cracking the whip necessarily.
And how important is it when you show up at a prospective client to be more of a one-on-one? Like, just don't walk in there like, okay, oh gosh, here comes another salesman walking through the door. To get that rapport with the people you're working with your clients, how important is that? Where you can just, maybe make a phone call or walk in and they know you by your name, oh, hey, Matt, Phil, or Mark, or gosh, I haven't seen you in a while. How important is it to be like a one-on-one, almost like a friend with these clients?
I know for myself personally, like kind of like how when COVID was, and a lot of places were closed, that was probably the challenging part for me because I'm a very much in-person type person. I struggle more so, like I'm not the type where always communicating like through email or phone.
Yeah.
I like face-to-face.
Yeah.
And maybe it's probably just because my generation. That's how kind of we were
exactly
raised, you did face-to-face. And so I would have to say, like, on the challenging part, during COVID. But now like that it's opening up and being able to stop at places, you know, to me, I feel like this is giving me more of my chance to thrive.
Sure.
And a lot of times too, it's not so much like going in and saying, hey, you know what? I'm here to sell you something. It's just like, how's it going?
Yeah.
What's up? You know, what do you find need in your industry? Or,
And first impersonations are huge. I know they are for me. I would much rather have somebody, even if I'm not interested, I'd still much rather have them come and talk to me personally than an email or a phone call or any of that kind of stuff, because I'm not young either. Right. Well, I'm probably older than you, but I'll just put it that way. I'm old school. I'd rather be one-on-one, face-to-face too.
And if you go back to the original write this down quote that we're talking about, like going out and creating it, I think in person is like one of the best ways to do that. Because I've had so many interactions, like we all have, like somebody comes up to you, they're talking to you about something that you care less, right? But you don't forget that person usually. You still remember that interaction that you had with them about that thing that you didn't want. You might not have bought it, but you remember that person. And especially in a community like Grand Forks, it's really cool because you start seeing those people around. And you can create unusual long-term relationships even before you've made a sale. Like I found that where, you know, you drive around, you stop in some place, you didn't know about the business until you showed up that day. But it's top of mind as the salesperson. And so then I take my family to that restaurant next time, or I take them, you know, to that business. And all of a sudden I'm their customer because I know about them now. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like a cool back and forth where even if you're the one who is now the customer.
Well, I think you kind of you also like develop a passion, you know, kind of in our industry. It's like,
sure.
And that's kind of where you go to. It's like, if you are passionate about the services you're offering or the products you're selling, you know, it's just fun to go and talk about it and showing that passion. I think that's what kind of gets people in and understanding, you know, it's not like I said earlier, like knocking on the door, boom, boom, boom. I'm here to sell you something.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if you're passionate about it, and just a lot easier to do it. But the face-to-face is, for me, it's great.
Sorry, I know you want to ask something. No, it's
no. Go ahead.
You
What?
go.
No.
No, you go.
What I was going to say is, especially for the two newer gentlemen, this has got to be, with the pandemic thing finally starting to tail away. We're going to get back to the old norm. I hate the term new norm. I can't stand it, but I would think these are kind of exciting times because maybe things are going to start to pick up again. Do you guys look at it that way?
Yeah, I guess I'm seeing it like now starting to pick up more, you know, just in like the last month or two, just for myself, even with my clients, and things are starting to roll. I think people are just realizing, hey, you know what? We just are going to move forward, and this is how we have to do it. You know, so let's get the ball rolling, and how can we continue to promote?
Okay, Matt, what were you going to say?
Well, I wanted to say, you know, there's the three of us here. Our company is amazing. People, everybody that works with Probetus is awesome. And we have offices all over the state, and we see this same, you know, cohesiveness in each of those markets. We have those relationships in Fargo and Bismarck, in Minot, and it's because of our team and our ability to connect as a team, even though we're all over the place. We've got Kari, who's in St. Louis. We've got Kim, who works out of her house in Thompson. You know, Gary's in Minot, one of my business partners. We've got in the office in Grand Forks, we've got Chrissy and we've got Katie and we've got Savannah as well. So, you know, when you talk about that atmosphere, it's fun when we go back to the office and we all kind of, you know, rib each other and do pranks and all that stuff, which that'll be another show to talk about.
We need to do a prank
pranks
episode.
We do, but
it's wild.
But we have that with our company. Even those people like Kari and Gary who are in an office, and Michael, who's in an office all by themselves, we're on IMs all the time. We'll do video calls, and we have that same thing that you see with the three of us. We all kind of have it together, so it's fun.
And Phil, I want you to write that down. He said we're awesome, just in case we need that.
Write that down, Phil.
Do I need to ask Matt if I can write that down?
It's not going
Trust
in that
me.
notebook.
Write that down.
And you know, again, getting kind of back to what I was talking about earlier, it sounds like you guys like going to work. You don't dread that, oh, it's 4:30, I got to go back to work and check in and all of that. And how important is it to actually like your job? I mean, not too many people can say that anymore.
True. Yeah, I just think it is. And I think kind of like Matt said too, you know, with our connection, it's kind of like we're not only like teammates, we're a family. You know what I mean? And it's like if you have something going on in your family, you know, it's like your teammates are right there to support you. So I think that's part of it. And that's kind of like the concept of going in. You know, like you said, it's I think it is. It's a passionate place, and it's a great place to work. And I think, too, once again, it goes back to the fact is even being able to help that other client.
Right.
You know, that's just kind of, it's that rewarding. So I think it's kind of that hunger. Maybe you get when you're in sales. And it's interesting because beforehand, you know, like I said, I've known Matt, and he'd visit with me. And honestly, I didn't think this is something I'd be doing. I've done newspaper. I've done spokesperson for organizations. You know, I've done lots of things, but I never really thought this would be something that I would be doing. And like I said, thankfully I got the opportunity, and it's just a whole new avenue to explore.
Yeah, when I first met you guys a week or so ago, I could just see it. I mean, we sat down for about an hour, and I could see it. When each one of you guys talked, you could see it in your face that you really enjoy what you're doing. And gosh, that's important stuff. We're going to do this again. Are we? Sometime?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's like 2 pages of quotes here that we need to go through. So.
You want to go through a couple before we get off here?
Oh no, we got to save them.
Uh-oh, save them?
Yeah, I mean we gotta keep rolling this thing. I'm having a great time. This is awesome.
Good.
Appreciate the opportunity.
And what I am going to do when we wrap this up, I am going to read the Probitas ad, and maybe you'll tweak it for me if you don't like it, but this is what we've been saying.
This is awesome.
But Matt, Phil, and Mark from Probitas Promotions, I can't wait to keep this thing going. Maybe next time we'll do it a little bit later on in the day, so that way we can maybe have a couple of something besides water. Does that sound like a good thing for you guys?
Running shoes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in this whole like bar meetings and golf course meetings. Like, when do I get to do that? Like, I didn't know that was a
When
thing.
you become a swag profile.
Oh,
Is that something you need to write down?
he's saying no. Okay.
You guys, thank you very much for coming in. And I tell you what, folks, if you're looking to boost your brand, Probitas Promotions will make you stand out from the crowd. You know, Probitas will consult with you at no cost to help you find the perfect swag for your business. Whether it's logoed apparel, hats, promotional products, trade show displays, or awards, Probitas is the region's top provider for free online stores. Probitas stores are the perfect option for your company apparel ordering, team spirit wear, or any type of organization that wants to dress their members with logoed apparel. Like you heard him mention, Probitas Promotions has locations in Grand Forks, Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot. Shop ProbitasPromo.com or call 1-866-PRO-SWAG. That's 1-866-PRO-SWAG. Boost your brand and stand out from the crowd with Probitas Promotions. And again, we're going to do this hopefully soon here. Matt, Phil, and Mark from Probitas Promotions. And that is your Probitas Promotions podcast. Have yourself a great remainder of the day, everybody.